Living in Maple Ridge Estates wasn't exactly my dream, but it was close to work, and the winding trails were perfect for Duke, my service dog. Duke, a golden retriever with a heart of gold, helps me navigate my PTSD from years of military service abroad. He's impeccably trained, always wears his service vest in public, and follows my commands like a pro. I've memorized the Americans with Disabilities Act. You have to when your life depends on a dog like Duke, but I never thought I'd be quoting federal law to my HOA president. The first time I met Susan Bradley, she was clutching a clipboard, her face locked in a frown that looked like it had been there for years. She introduced herself as the Maple Ridge HOA president, her voice dripping with self-importance, like I should have taken a bow. "I don't recall approving a dog in this neighborhood," she said, glaring at Duke, who sat calmly by my side. I explained, polite as could be, that Duke was a service dog, not a pet, and exempt from pet rules under federal law. She snorted, grumbled about people and their loopholes, and stormed off. That should have been my red flag, but I brushed it off, thinking she'd move on. Big mistake. Over the next few weeks, I got hit with 3 ridiculous violation notices, each one signed with Susan's flourish and a creepy smiley face that felt more like a threat. First, my lawn was a 1/4 inch too tall. Seriously, who measures grass? Then, my mailbox was the wrong shade of gray. Finally, my trash can sat out for maybe an hour after pickup, and that was apparently a crime. I fixed each one, not wanting trouble, but my gut told me this was personal, that Susan was getting from me and Duke. Things escalated at an HOA meeting when Susan proposed a new rule. All animals, even service dogs, had to register with the board and wear HOA-approved tags. I raised my hand, pointed out that this violated the Americans with Disabilities Act, and got cut off mid-sentence. "Federal laws don't trump our community standards," she snapped, her voice sharp enough to slice bread. A few neighbors shifted uncomfortably, but nobody backed me up. After the meeting, Susan cornered me, leaning in close, her breath reeking of peppermint and menace. "If you want to play hardball, I can play harder," she hissed. I just nodded, keeping my cool, but I knew this was war. That weekend, I was chilling on my porch, Duke curled up at my feet, his vest on, looking like the model citizen he is. I was halfway through the sports section when Susan's shadow loomed over my lawn. She stood there in her pressed khakis and polo, holding a spray bottle like it was a loaded gun. "Your dog's breaking our new pet ordinance. No HOA tag," she announced, loud enough for the whole street to hear. I stayed calm, reminded her Duke was a service dog, protected by federal law, and that her rule wasn't even official yet. Her face went beet red, veins popping like she was about to blow a gasket. "I'm sick of you soldier boys thinking you're above us," she spat, stepping onto my grass. Before I could move, she aimed that bottle at Duke and sprayed him square in the face. Duke yelped, pawing at his eyes, backing away in confusion. I shot up, heart pounding, and got between them. "What the hell's in that bottle?" I demanded. Susan smirked, twirling it like some cartoon villain. "Just vinegar and water. Won't kill him, but maybe he'll learn some respect." I saw red, but my training kicked in. Stay calm, handle it smart. I rushed Duke inside, rinsed his eyes with water, checking him over. His eyes were irritated, red and watery, but he'd be okay, thank God. Once I knew he was safe, I grabbed my phone and dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency?" the dispatcher asked. I laid it out. Susan had assaulted my service dog, and messing with a service animal is a federal crime. They took my details and sent officers right over. 20 minutes later, 2 cops showed up at my door. I walked them through it, showed Duke's certification, his training records, everything. I pointed out Susan's house across the street. One officer stayed to take my statement, while the other headed to her place. From my window, I saw Susan flailing her arms, her face twisted in outrage, but the officer didn't flinch. When they came back, they confirmed she'd admitted to spraying Duke, claiming she was enforcing HOA rules. They told her flat out that interfering with a service animal violates the Americans with Disabilities Act, with hefty fines and possible jail time. Plus, it's animal cruelty under state law. They were arresting her and asked if I'd press charges. "Absolutely," I said, No hesitation. Susan was cuffed and led to the squad car, screaming that I'd be evicted and the neighborhood would turn on me. Neighbors peeked out, some shocked, others whispering. One, Mrs. Carter, a sweet older lady, came over later, looking guilty. I should have spoken up at that meeting, she said, petting Duke, who was back to his calm self. She scared us all for too long. Another neighbor nodded, saying, she's finally crossed the line. It felt good to know I wasn't alone, but I was still shaken, wondering how far this would go. The legal gears turned fast. Susan was charged with interfering with a service animal, animal cruelty, and harassment. Her first court date was a circus. She showed up in a designer suit, flanked by a slick lawyer who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. The evidence was damning. My statement, Duke's records, even a neighbor's Ring camera catching Susan's spray attack. The judge didn't hold back, making it clear that community rules don't override federal protections, especially for disability rights. While Susan awaited trial, the HOA called an emergency meeting. I showed up with Duke, expecting a fight, but the room was packed. Nearly every homeowner in Maple Ridge was there. The vice president, Mr. Larson, proposed a no-confidence vote against Susan, citing her reckless actions that put the community at legal risk. The vote was unanimous. Susan was out, her name tag yanked from the board table like she'd never existed. Susan's trial wrapped up with her pleading guilty to lesser charges to dodge a longer sentence. The judge hit her with 30 days in county jail, a $5,000 fine, 200 hours of community service at a local animal shelter, and mandatory classes on disability rights. As the sentence was read, Susan's face cycled through shock, fury, then a slow, sinking defeat. I was just enforcing the rules, she muttered as the bailiff approached. The judge leaned forward, voice like steel. The law protects service animals and those who rely on them, Ms. Bradley. You broke it, not him. Susan glanced at me as she was let out, her eyes hollow, mouthing something. Maybe this isn't over, but we both knew it was. Duke sat beside me, steady as ever, his golden fur catching the courtroom light. I scratched his ears, and he nudged my hand, reminding me we'd made it through. Back in Maple Ridge, the HOA got a makeover. Mr. Larson stepped up as president, scrapping Susan's dumb rules. No more approved tags for dogs. No more nitpicking mailboxes. Neighbors started talking again, waving as they passed, some even stopping to pet Duke and apologize for staying quiet. Mrs. Carter baked me cookies, saying, "You gave us our neighborhood back." The community service hit Susan hard. Word got around that she was scrubbing kennels at the shelter, looking miserable. After her sentence, she sold her house and moved out of state, probably to escape the stairs. I heard she's living with family in Georgia, keeping a low profile. Good riddance. Life's quieter now. Duke and I walk the trails every morning, his vest gleaming, his tail wagging like nothing ever happened. The lake sparkles, the air's fresh, and the neighbors smile again. This whole mess taught me something. Standing up isn't just about you. It's about everyone who's too scared to fight. Susan thought she could bully us into submission, but she forgot one thing. The law's bigger than any clipboard, and Duke and I, we're tougher than we look. So, what do you think? Did Susan get what she deserved, or should I have let it slide? Ever dealt with an HOA Karen, or stood up for what's right? Drop your story in the comments, and let's talk. If you like this, hit that like button and subscribe. There's more where this came from.